this. Right, good evening folks. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and yep, today is the first day that we are running our workshop, and a warm welcome to you guys. And let me just share my screen. All right, so can you all see my screen? All right, cool, nice. Okay, yep. So as you guys can see, this is the weekly plan, lesson plan that I have passed on to Ms. Nigel as well. Yeah, I will also post this in our Google Classroom later on. And as you can see here, today is the first week. Yeah, so we will be talking about we'll be going through with you guys with Photoshop navigation and tools, the shortcut keys, and how to import and export images and so on and so forth. Right, so today is more on the introduction, and come next week we will be then starting more on in-class activities, whereby you will then have your own time to go back home and do come out with your own compositions and so on and so forth. So that will be say, a result of what you have learned and how do you showcase it in your work and so on. Right, so here are all the subjects or topics that we will cover across. So we will be doing mostly on photo editing, designs for portraits, posters, animation, and so on and so forth. So I'll leave this later on. I'll post this in our Google Classroom for you guys to have a look at it. Yeah, but there are also there might be some additions along the way, so to make it more fun and so on. Okay, so this is pretty much how the weekly plan is going to be. So without further ado, first and foremost, I want every one of you to get into the Google Classroom. So this is the code for the Google Classroom. You can copy this. I'll just copy this link just in case. I will also post it in our chat so you guys can get in, those who have not, those who have not come in, please do add yourself in. All right, so there's a welcome note here, as well as the important links and references for you guys to click and go through this on your sweet time. Right, so yep, that is pretty much for the first class. And of course weekly I will update each classwork, so every time that we finish our class or even prior to the class, I will have all the classwork assignments to be added in, and with all the other materials will be added in. Right, so that's that on the Google Classroom. At the moment I've got about 14 students here. There's another 2 more is missing. I think another 3 more. So Nigel is here, and is Jazira. Ajira is not here. Probably you can add yourself in as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's on the Google Classroom. All the other materials as well as videos will all be shared here. Right, so this is a one-stop center where everything can be accessed. Okay, so without further ado, just a little bit about myself. So this is what I am into. So I teach a lot of concept art. I do a lot of concept art for games, for animation, I've done animation for TV series, commercials, video games for PS console games, PS4, PS5, Xbox, mobile games, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, this is all done in Photoshop. Yeah, just to give you guys a heads up of what we do. Yeah, and yep, that's a little bit on my side. So of course, to achieve that, it is much more in need of what they call your drawing pen tools and so on. Before I start, may I know how many of you guys have drawing tablets with you? Do you all have? Nope. Right. Okay. All right. So if you guys, we'll talk about drawing tablets later. All right. So without further ado, let's start then. Okay. So as you load up your Photoshop, this is what you will see. And if it's brand new Photoshop install, just install, you would not see any recent files here. Everything will be empty except for this new document dialog will pop up. All right. So as you can see here, these are the document sizes that you're going to work with, practically your canvas in Photoshop. So there are varieties of sizes here. It varies across depending on what output that you're looking at. So let's look at the photo. Photo is practically what it mentions for photo prints and so what size it is, and the what they call the resolution for print size and so on and so forth, right? So before you start any of this preset, or if you choose any of this presets, as you can see here for print or photo, so we'll be looking at print mostly, and film. Yeah, so art and illustration is practically for concept drawings, posters, postcards, and so on and so forth. As for web, it is much more suited for the browsers that you have, right? So you've got different types of browser settings, different types of screen space, and so you have to choose the size that is reflecting to the output that you want it to be, right? And then moving on to the mobile, it is mostly on the screen space of a mobile. So we've got multiple choices here. So these are all presets that you can work with. And then film. I'm going quite fast with this, yeah, because these are all like the presets that we can choose from. But of course, you can always customize your size. All right. So film and video is mostly for televisions, screens, how big it is. Normally it's HD and above, current TVs that you have. So you've got Ultra HD and so on and so forth, right? So each on every of this is depending on the size of your canvas that you're going to work with, and when it's displayed on a screen, it will have an inch perfect, pixel perfect image or crisp image. Right. So before we even further set up our document, number one thing that you have to look at is the name of your preset detail. All right. So say for instance, if you're going to work with a film or video size, or even if it's a print size, right? So whenever that you're working with any of this size or document sizes here, first thing it will tell you, or it will inform you, what is the width, which is the horizontal width, and then the height of the document. So here it is given in inches. You can always change it to centimeter, points, or pixels. I would strongly recommend to go with pixels. Sorry. So I would strongly recommend to go with pixels because this is much more easier for you to work with. Of course, depending on the preferences of the artist. Right, you've got two types of orientation. So the size here, I will talk about this even further. I'll explain this even further of how it works. And then you've got the orientation. One is a portrait, one is a landscape, right? So ignore the artboard for now. This is later. And then the most important thing is the resolution. The higher the resolution is, the better the quality of your image is going to be. All right. Moving on, you can reduce this. The higher it is, the bigger your file size is going to be. Yeah. So when I say bigger the file size is going to be, is in your Photoshop. If you don't have enough space, then it's going to make it much more bigger and heavier. All right, so that's on the resolution. Normally we'll look, for a start, we'll look at 150 at least, or you can work with 72, doesn't matter for now, for a start, sorry. And then you've got the color mode. For now, you just leave it as RGB. If you just drop down this menu here on the color mode, you've got bitmap, grayscale, RGB, CMYK, and lab colors. So we've got 5 options here. At the moment, we'll work with RGB. Yeah, grayscale, which means black and white. Right, bitmap is more. It's we are not going to touch bitmap now. CMYK and RGB is the most common colors that we work with. CMYK will give you a different tonal values as opposed to RGB. RGB is more on digital, and CMYK is more for printing. Right, so these are the 2 things that we will, color modes that we'll be focusing on. And then you've got the 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. Yeah, you've got 16. Yeah, you've got 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. Yeah, so we'll talk even further about 16-bit and all these bits here. Right, so each and every of this bit is going to give you a different color tonal that you're going to apply to your image manipulation and so on. Right, by default it is 8. And then you've got the background. So background, which means you'll foresee this as we open a new document, as we create. So each background will start with either white, black, or there's a background color, a specific background color, and so on and so forth. You can try this out later. Okay. As you drop down the advanced option, you've got the color profile. For now, just leave it as default. Right. So later you can play with different types of color profiles here. All right. So this color profile will cater for different types of gamma or swatches and so on and so forth. All right. And yep, at the moment, just leave it as the pixel aspect ratio. Just leave it as square pixels. The reason being is we are going to be rendering this as an image for print and so. Make sense, right? So that's a little bit on the document setups, right? Say for now, if you're going to work with any sort of image, as print A4 size, we just choose print A4 size. Maybe you want to reduce the resolution for now. Okay, so let's start with 72 for today. So it's not too big, just as a start, right? So let's create a push. If you forget to name your document, all right, if you forget to name your document, it's easy. All you have to do is, first and foremost, look at the panels here, right? By default, this is what you have. The top menu here, right up top here, is the file, all the content of file, what is this document is going to be saved as or exported as, and so on and so forth. So the most important thing, as you can see here, is save as, right? Remember, every time that you open up or create a new document or even bring in a photo, make sure you save this. Okay, so first and foremost, you hit on save on your computer, right? Choose a designated folder, right? For me, I have a couple of what they call folders and a lot of other contents here. But say you have a proper designated folder here, name it as week 1, right? Just save it as PSD. So again, if you Control Shift S or Command Shift S, right, this save dialog window will pop up, and then you just have to click on the save on your computer. The moment you click on it, there are options here. All right, so as you can see here, once you have chosen your designated folder, you've got options here. If you drop down the save as type, These are the options. One is from PSD as default. This is a raw file, so anytime that you open in PSD this particular version and above, you can open this. If not, if you want to have it as universal, then you have to change it as different types of file, like PS EPS file. Okay, so just leave it as PSD or raw file or PDF here. You can save this as that format or type. You've got other options. We'll talk about that even further as we move on, right? So each and every of these types will have its own pros and cons, right? So once you have saved this as PSD file, every time that you open, you just have to just double click on it and it will just open, right? I'm just going to cancel this, and this is what we have now. All right, so I'll further explain this in terms of its windows and navigation. All right, first time when you open, you will see this document size as in white, and then on your top here, as in all the drop down menus from the file, you've got the types of export, a type of import, right? You can import from various sources, and so you can save this, or you can just directly print it, right? And then you've got the edit, whereby you can do other edits. And first, most important thing that you guys have to remember is under edit, every time that you're working with Photoshop, is to go under purge all. The reason being is every time that you work with any sort of document, or whether it's going to be a print or whether it's going to be a drawing or whatever not, it will then have a catch file. So those catch files will then slow down your PC. It is going to eat up your memory, and it's going to take in every action, your history, and so on and so forth, to be added into your as a memory, or it eats up your space. So you just have to purge all every time. Okay. Apart from that, the others is redo, undo. Undo is the most important thing that you guys will be just smashing on a keyboard, right? Either it's going to be for Windows, it's going to be Control Z, for Mac it's going to be Command Z, right? As for the others, we'll dive deep into this even further. I will further explain this as we go along. I'm not going to catch this too much here, but you can always navigate through this, right? And for the image is practically types of mode, as we just chose from the document. So you've got grayscale, you've got bitmap, and so on. So all this first tier here, right, as you can see here, the first tier grayscale up to multi-channel. So these are the types of color output that you're going to work with, right? And then the bit, which means these tonal values that you're going to get, is by choosing the types of document or color tonal that you're going to work with when you're editing your pictures and so on, right? So for default 8-bit, leave it as it is. I will further explain this, what's the difference between 8 and 16-bit and so on, right? Apart from that is image adjustment, is components that we'll be working with every time that you have any sort of image. How do you want to edit your image? What kind of colors that you're going to play with? How do you want to alter the image and so on, is under the adjustment layer here, right? So this can be found in different tabs. As you can see, these are all called tabs. Yeah, tiny little windows that is tabbed. It has been clumped in such manner so it's easy for you to access and navigate through, right? So the others is the canvas size, image size. This too is different. Yeah, canvas size is how big is your canvas is going to be. The image size is how big is your image is going to be, which means your original raw image. Okay, got it? So we will dive deep into this and also look into how is your output is going to be, what kind of resolution that you're going to work with is under image size. I'll dive deep into this even further. I'm just going to cancel this for now, and further down is image rotation. We'll talk about this even further, and the others for now we can ignore. Okay, and then you've got the layers, all the other layers around, and the window here, window panel. If you don't see that layers, I'll explain this even more thoroughly as we move on, but you can just click on this. It will have its layers options. All right, so layers is very powerful. That is Photoshop's most powerful component, layers. And then type, right? Type is where font is then played with. Make sense? Yeah. So fonts for now, just remember type means is font, right? Everything to do with type, font, and paragraphs, and so, right? And moving on to select. Select is where you are selecting different types of selections and so on as you're editing your image and so on. And then you've got filters. This is a cool part. So every time that you finish any, or if you have any sort of image that you bring it into Photoshop, this is where you're going to do all the edits, and you're going to make it much more, different effects to be added on, and so on and so forth. Right. So for now, let's move on to what we have first, and then we'll go dive deeper as we move along. 3D, don't touch now. All right. So if your PC is not powerful, do not touch this. Yeah, because this will then take up a lot of memory, as well as it will kind of like, it is a little bit more advanced. That's what it is. Right. So view is how you view your document, how big you want, what kind of guides that you want to have, and so on and so forth. So this will be handy as you work with your computer, right? And then come to the windows. Windows is where all the other panels that you see in this particular workspace, this is called a workspace. Everything that you see here, how the tools is laid out, how the working window is laid out, and so on. All these tiny little icons here has been arranged for you for your navigation purpose, is all under this window drop down menu. All right. So yeah, and under Windows, you've got also workspace. You've got essential. This is by default, right? So for a start, you guys better go with essential. If once you're a little bit more pro, or you want to focus on specific topics and so on, then you can just choose the specific workspace that is suitable for your workspace. So like me, I will look into painting, so only this particular windows I need to see. The rest of it I can ignore, right? So Photoshop is a very powerful tool, so you can always customize your windows however you want. All right. So and then you've got the help. Help is where.
Is Shima your daughter?
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. It is okay.
Can you all hear me? Am I breaking? I know who's online.
I don't think we're working on that song today. I know what I am. Okay, just put the music. Okay, well, this is the.
Hello. I know whose mic is on.
Is your mic?
Mine, is it? Nobody's screaming here, or I don't have anyone here, but yeah, I'm sorry if there is an interruption. But anyways, I'll continue then. So this is help is where you pick up every single if you have any specific plugins or any help that you want to seek for from Adobe by itself, you just have to go in and click on the help. All right, so that is the first top layer panel that you see in Photoshop. So far, are you guys okay? Am I going too fast? Thumbs up. All good. Right, cool. So moving on, the second tier that you can see here, because I've changed this workspace to painting back, I'll just change it to essential by default, right? So first thing that you see in the second tier of this window here is where the home is. Every time when you click home, it will go back to what kind of document that you want to create and so on and so forth, and as well as to open recent documents that you want to work with, right? So if let's say you don't see this and you've been working with Photoshop, just click home and then choose the files that you want to that you have worked with and then continue working on it, right? I'm just going to go back. So the other icons or small icons that you can see here is for your menus. Yeah, so different types of menus. The info is here, auto select and so on is going to be showcased here for you to choose from and then edit or move your image and so on and so forth, and alter your image in Photoshop. Yeah, as well as to showcase how the text has been laid out, aligned, how the image is laid out and aligned and so on. Okay, so you've got these are all aligns and these are transformation. So we will talk about how an image or any sort of photos can be transformed here. How do you want to skew it or adjust it accordingly? It will then showcased in this editing, right? So it is better that as we start, you can click on this and then know how it functions, right? So we'll further dive into this later, right? And on your left, you've got the toolbar. So the toolbar is the most sort out in or the most looked for, right? You'll be working with the toolbars here, right? All the other tools or the editing tools, everything has been given in this small icon. It will be placed here, or you can even undock it if you want to, or change different location wherever that is. This is how you just have to hold with your left mouse button and drag the whole thing, yeah, and drop it. Yeah, if you wanted to dock it, so you have to go closer, yeah, closer to the window. You will see a blue line. At the moment it is not docking, it is floating, so you can move it around. It depends on how you want to place it. So if I go really close, can you see this blue line? This is to showcase where the tools will be docked. Make sense? So if you don't like this position, maybe you can just drag the whole thing from here on, okay, or you can just undock this. See that? When you undock, don't dock on this big the arrowed, you see these two arrowed button here. Don't undock on that because it will dock the entire clump, so we call it as a clump. So you undock bottom here, or you go closer to this. If you see closer or see quite it's hard to see, but there is a tiny little line here at the bottom. Yeah, so drag or click on it with your left mouse button and just drag it and drop it where it's necessary. Make sense? Okay, so that's how you dock things. I'm going to throw everything here and push. Now you get your components arranged accordingly. So if let's say you have already altered this and then it has kind of like disrupted your workspace, all you have to do is you can see at this magnifying glass, which is the search button, you will see a workspace here. Choose a workspace. There's a tiny little window. Click on it, hold it, and then choose which is the most what they call suitable workspace that you want to work with. So at the moment I have already disrupted my spacing, and so I just have to hit reset and done. Okay, right, that is a little bit on your workspace for a workspace that you can work with. All right. So once you have already understood how to work with your workspace, how do you want to arrange, how do you want to manage your, layers and so that you get a bigger workspace or you can see clearly what you're working with. Once you're happy with this, yeah, then you can start doing your edits and so on. All right. So if let's say this is taking too much of space as you're working with laptops, most of you, yeah, you can bring it close as you hover your mouse closer to any of these lines that you can see here. As you just drag it in, or you just hold with your left mouse button and push it inwards. Yeah, hold and push it with your left mouse button on this particular dividing line. You can squeeze the windows as small as you can. Again, this depending on what windows has been opened, been showcased in your workspace. Right? If you don't want to see any of this, you can go back to this top here. You can collapse the icons, push, and then you can uncollapse it. Okay, so that's how you want to see more space on your document, right? So the tools, I'll explain this even further. All right, so that's on the workspace toolbars. You can move it wherever you want. You can even put it down here, or you can even undock it, and if you have double monitor, you can just shift it over to a different monitor and so on. All right, at the bottom here you've got the scale, the zoom size. If let's say I hit 150, so this will zoom in as big as that, it is zooming in as big as 150 times, or if you want to hit 100, normally is fitting the screen. Okay, and then you've got the document size. As you can see, if you're working with bigger images or you have multiple layers and so, or multiple edits and you're using multiple filters, definitely it will show you what is your document size that you're going to save. At the moment it's 1.43 megabytes. Okay, and on your right here, layer is the most important thing. We'll talk about this even further. And you've got your colors and your properties and adjustments. So we'll dive deeper into this as we go along, right? So this is the first first introduction of Photoshop so far. Any questions? Can I continue? Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just share. I'm going to go to my chat. I'm going to just paste. Sorry, I'm going to paste an image. Moment. Okay, this site is very useful, right? I've already shared all these sites with you guys under the Google Classroom for your references. This is a free stock image that you can just pick from. Yeah, these are all royalty free. Yeah, I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to just paste it here. I want to save image as, I'm going to drag this. Oh, that's weird. I can't attach. Give me a moment. If I can't save this, what I'll do is I'll just copy this link and I will just paste it over. Bam. Right. So you guys can click on this image. I mean the link, and what you have to do is look for this tree image by Jeff King. Okay, or any of this image. Yeah, just pick one, right click on it. You can either save this image in a folder. Make sure that you have a designated folder for all the image that you're saving, so that it's easier for you to extract the image from, or you know where is it located. Yeah, or in our case, you can just copy the image and you can go into Photoshop and command V or control V, and you paste it. Push. Okay, so if you don't see that, this is a shortcut. So I'm going to mix a shortcut and how to import in very in a very systematic way. This is a faster way of doing things. Yeah, now I can move the images around. I can delete this, or I can go in here under file. I can import from layers, or I can
What the fuck
place.
you want?
Whoa, language. So you go here under your designated folder, right? So look for that image and place it. Okay, this is the conventional way of doing things. Yeah. Okay.
How do you copy and paste it again?
Right. Any image from whatever source that you're picking up, say from internet or Google search and so on, right? So any image that is open, right click, copy image. You must have this dialog. Yeah, right click on that image, copy image, come in here, open up, go to your Photoshop, Control V or Command V to paste. Right? So the difference between these two, yeah, when you place embedded, it will paste in the canvas. If you paste it directly as it is now, it will only follow the size of the image, not the document size. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So there are two ways of doing things, right? If you're very used to Photoshop, you'll go my way. It's really fast, right? But if you're now only starting, then it's best to go with the embed. Place embed, or there are two types of placing image. Place linked, right? So place linked and place embed means place link is where it is looking at and it becomes a smart object. So let's say I'm going to look back for the image. See, these are common things. You guys, whenever you save, do not just save as photo 1464, and as you save from any source, it won't give you a shorter name. Yeah, the prefix must be different, the naming convention is different. Sometimes you get confused if you have hundreds of images. So best is to name your image as you save from any source. But remember, you have to save something from royalty free image. Okay, but we'll talk about that a little further. So if it's linked, right? So when you click on it, double click, it will give you a different, this is the raw file. Make sense? When you place embed, that means there is no the raw file is in, so which means you can't retrack back the original image. Am I making sense? All right, so we'll talk about this even further. Yeah, so when it's linked means you can always open up, or you can recall back that image, or you can even change the name, it will open back the same image. Make sense? Yeah, it would not disrupt that original image. When it's embedded, which means it is already inside Photoshop and it is ready to be altered, and as you alter this, it will then be destructive. Okay, So that's how you bring in an image, right? So I'll just go with place embed for now, right? Just to get you guys, you can bring in any photos, it doesn't matter, yeah, for you guys to try out first how the tool works, right? The first thing that you will see is the move tool here. So the move tool, if you hover any of these tools, it will give you a description, right? Just hover through, don't click anything, just point your mouse where, or place your mouse on the icons here. It will tell you what is that tool for and what does it do, what's the function, right? So at the moment I'm going to go one by one quickly. Yeah, I've already also pasted the link to all the, there's a video here, everything is explained, all the tools is explained. Yeah, please go through this tool. Yeah, so quickly, first thing that you need to know is how do you want to move your image accordingly, right? Say you've got two image, or you have multiple image that you want to do some sort like a collage and so on. All you have to do is drag it and place it for a better composition. Yeah, you can hold Alt, right, and with your left mouse button you can drag and copy another image out of it, duplicate it. Okay, so that's what move tool does. Okay, it's a very powerful tool. This was definitely going to be the most used tool in Photoshop. So if you want to move freely, you just have to hold on any of this image. As you can see here, underlays, every time that we bring in any image in, under this layer window, if you don't see this layer window, all you have to do is go to window here and look for layers, check it. Okay, you want to make sure that you are able to access and view this layer windows. Okay, anything that you bring in, everything will be layered, which means it's like a page. Yeah, every artwork that you're bringing in, it will come into a layer. Make sense? So far clear? Yeah, anyone any questions? Right. All right, cool. That's all for the questions. I'll continue. Yeah, so moving, one is just moving freely in free form anywhere you want and place it within the canvas. You can even go outside of the canvas in Photoshop. The canvas is not the only thing that you'll be working on. Of course, this is the canvas, means it is only printing within this canvas. If you want that image to go outside, it doesn't matter, because this is infinite. You can always enlarge this canvas as big as you want, right? We'll dive into that even deeper. So this is move tool. If you want it to be moved in a very uniform way, or in a very straight line, yeah, all you have to do is hold shift and left mouse button, hold it on that image, yeah, you can see, and drag it. Okay, so if you are holding shift and then moving horizontally, or sorry, vertically, it will move in a straight line. See that? By holding shift and moving up and down, so a straight line. Even if I'm moving my cursor now right and left, it would not move, because we have already mentioned to Photoshop, I want this to be moving in a straight line vertically, right? If I want it to move horizontally, all you have to do is, first initiation is hold shift, hold with your left mouse button and drag it, and you initiate that movement is only on the horizontal line. Make sense? Okay, so this will come handy as you are editing for vector graphics and so on and so forth later. Okay, that is a move tool. So move tool, every time that you see any of these icons here, all right, which has a tiny little drop down or arrow, just hold with your left mouse button and you can see there is two types of tools here under move tool. One is a move tool, one is an artboard. An artboard will come handy if you can just left mouse button, click and drag how big your artboard is going to be. You can crop it or scale it accordingly. Let's say you're doing a postcard or you're doing an Instagram photo, or any sort of image and avatars and so on and so forth. This is how you do it. And if you are going to work with multiple images, all you have to do is click next and it will copy the canvas size to multiple sizes. So we'll talk about this even further. It will be handy because you can you can edit the artboard specifically. Yeah, I can off this, I can go in here, I can work on this artboard. It's like a different files that you're opening up on your screen space. Make sense? Okay, so that's that. So if you don't want this, you can just undo, Control Z or Command Z, Command Z, and Command Z, and Command Z. Done. Okay. So that's how much you want to do with artboard if you want. Moving on is the Marquee Selection. Yeah, the Marquee Selection is the most powerful tool. This Marquee Selection, every time that you select within this dotted lines, yeah, all you have to do is select a selection, an area of selection. And now if I were to move this tool, all I have to all I have to do is I can make sure that my layer is on, and then move this or do the Marquee Selection again. You see it is not moving now. Why? Is because this image is not rasterized, right? So again, if I hit on Marquee Selection, I hit V for move, it will only move the entire image. Why? Is number one is when we place embed, it is what I call it is treating this as a whole image, as a raw image. Make sense? So it is not enabling you to edit the image. All you have to do is right click on that text here and then do a rasterize layer. So now if that icon has already changed, can you see this two little icon here? So if I right click and rasterize this layer, now if I move this, I can move it to or cut it out of the image. Okay, so it's a lot now, so I'm going to repeat this again. So demonstrate, somebody asked, coaching you, can you demonstrate the image in insert process? Okay, again, so file, this is the first thing, file, place. Okay, but place embed, place link, right? So this is one way, conventional way, step by step. So I'm going to look for place embed, right? Look for that image where I've saved in a specific designated folder, right? I'm going to look for that image, like in my case it is here on my desktop. I'm just going to hit on that and then place it. You can name the file if you want to, and I hit place, couple, it places, okay, and press enter, right, or return. That is how you place. The linked is pretty much the same. Only thing is the link, it means it is a link to that image, the original raw file. So if you change the name, so it will, yeah. If you want to drag and drop, yes you can, no problem, you can do that. Only difference is if you drag any specific image, let's say I'm going to just hit or look for an image, drag and drop. You can do that, right? The difference is between drag and drop. At times, if you go closer, you will see it will have a bad pixelation, right? You can still work with this. You can drag any image in, no problem. Yeah, it is just that it would not sit in the exact location you want to have it. So there's two ways to look into this. You can drag any image to Photoshop, you can copy and paste any image to Photoshop, or you can even place embed. Yeah, so those are the things that you can work with. The image that I need to drop. Well, you see, the difference is when you drag and drop any sort of image, as in image that you save, like in this case is a JPEG, right? So if it's a JPEG, the moment you bring in any JPEG files, if the size is small or if the resolution is low, the image will not be crisp. Make sense? So if you take a photo with your, if you have a DSLR, you know the big camera, yeah, if you have a raw picture or a photo or a very high resolution image, if you bring in a high resolution image, when you bring it in, when you go closer, you will see all these jaggedy lines will not be, or you call it as artifacts, yeah, will not be showcased. Make sense? Yeah. So if you want to can I just go open the image instead? Yeah, you can open the image. Yes, of course. You can open a specific image. Let's say you want to open file, open, pick any of this image. You can do that as well, right? So there's multiple ways of doing things. You can even pick or just open any image. The only difference is when you open an image or a photo, then you're just working with that photo. Make sense? But if you're setting up document, that means you're predetermining what kind of file output that you're looking for. Am I making sense? Right? So what does it mean if the image will be rasterized? Okay. The meaning of rasterize and smart object. Rasterize mean you are embedding or you are making it editable. Right? Smart object means it will not disrupt the original origin of the image. Make sense? Yeah. So these are the two common things that we're looking at. So if you want to work with a non-destructive manner, then you go with a smart object. Let's say, for instance, if I work with this, right click, I make it as convert this to a smart object. Right now, I can adjust this however I want. Of course, it will still not give you, it will still not cut out as its size. But what you can do is you can Control C, Control V, and now, or Command C, Command C, yeah, Command C or Control C is to copy, and then Command C, Command V or Control V is to paste. Okay, so if you paste it, now this is a rasterized image. So this original image is not disrupted. Make sense? Okay, so always remember when you guys are playing with this, yeah, when you're playing with any of these images, first thing that you want to know is how to manage your files, right? So file naming convention, how to manage your files is very important because you don't want to have any losses in your image. When you open any sort of image like this, say you Control S or Command S, you save it. The moment you save it, what happens to the file is this file or this image will be overwritten, right? So when it's overwritten, see, this is still an JPEG file. It is not a PSD file. So if I save this, if I do any example, I'll do a quick one, even if you don't know this yet. Say I do this, take a color, I do this, right? Like how you do scribble in your phone, iPad, and so on. I save this, right? And you just say OK, right? The moment you hit OK, it will overwrite this image. Make sense? Yeah. So this is lost. Okay. So the next time when I open this, see that I save that image linked. I save on that image. Now the scribble will appear here. Can you all see? Yeah. So there's two ways to go about it. When you have something that you open directly and you wrongly save on it and it is gone, yeah, you lose that original file. So you want to make sure that you maintain the original file. So whenever that you guys are doing any posts and so on and so forth, you want to make sure it is not been disrupted like this. Okay. All right. So I've got another question here. How do you lock a layer? Right. So for that layer, yeah, we'll talk about that. Your questions will be answered as along the way, yeah, right? Because if I keep interrupting the flow, you may not lose that, momentum. Okay, just for the first day. Okay, for the layers, there are a lot of things in the layers, but I'm just gonna give a very basic, yeah, just to know. In this particular layer window, as you all know how to import already, you guys can try it out, yeah. And then as you come in, each and every layers can be visible and can be hidden. So you see this eye icon here is to hide and unhide, right? That's one thing. Number two is if I want to work with this window, or I don't want this layer, this image, I don't want this layers to be wrongly moved or whatever not, right? I don't want to have any edit on this image. All you have to do is go down here, you see this lock button, click on it, and it's all locked. Now even if I move, nothing happens. Okay, so every time that you move anything, or even if you want to edit, if you look for a brush icon here and you can't do anything, it is all locked. Okay, right? So that's how you bring in image, and to just get to know how linked image works, please embed, please linked, and then drag your image in, open your image, what does it do, yeah, and so on and so forth, in the very basic of Photoshop, right? We'll dive into this even further as we go along next week and so, yeah. And then what you guys have to do is when this class is going to be, it's already past time, yeah. So what you have to do is look or run through this video that I've shared in the classroom, yeah. Just get to know the tools, right? Don't worry about how perfect that image is going to be or whatever not, right? Any edit that you're going to do, yeah. All you have to do is now to try out each tool. All you have to do is just click on it and see the functions. The Marquee tool, this is what it does for selection purpose. For Lasso tool is also a selection on a specific region, yeah. If you're using mouse, every time you have to hold with your left mouse button, and then you just have to scribble around any selection zones, yeah, for it to be used for moving or cropping or even to color of and so on. Okay, so this is selection tool, and you've got different types of tools. Along the way you can have multiple selections, yeah, different types of selection, quick selection. You've got the quick selection, which means it will try to calculate or try to identify the similar colors or regions, yeah, where the selection is going to be. Yeah, those are the ways of selecting things, because in Photoshop it's more so of selecting certain areas where you're going to edit your eyes and so on and so forth, your eye color, your shirt colors, blah blah blah, and so on. Okay, so this is the most commonly used basic tools that we've been using for selection and moving things around, moving your image around and doing a collage. Make sense? Yeah. And you've got the crop. So these are all tools later to be tested. You guys have to test all these tools. Don't worry if it's gonna make something funky. It doesn't matter, right? All you have to do is try out and try to kind of like understand what it does in terms of its functionality. Yeah, but how to utilize it, we will go through each phases, right? Make sense? Yeah, just to get to know how it works, a rough idea, so when you come back to next class you are more prepared of what are the tools that when I'm using, you kind of like you can relate it. This tool is specifically for this, and eventually as you move along to the next class and so you will be more efficient in using or utilizing these tools even better. Make sense? Yeah, so one step at a time. I don't want to shower you with too much of information just yet. Why? Is because it then it chokes you with so many things to remember. So please go through the video for today, yeah, and try to also look at this amateur versus pro graphic artist. So this is more graphic artist, yeah, and you can also look at this videos given here, tutorials that you can find for your future references. Fonts, these are good font zones or sites, the font and Google Font, of course. Yeah, you just have to sign in and then just download for your to your laptop, to your machine. Then later we can use all these fonts. Okay, so yep, that's on the basics of how an overview of Photoshop. All right, so every time, remember, at the end of the day, every time that you finish this, I'm not going to go through the rest of the tools today, but I would rather have a practice and you can use this. But for today, once you have already tried this out, don't worry. Remember, whenever you finish, whenever you import any image, all right, you can make a duplicate by clicking, or you can just right click and make a duplicate, or just click on the image, yeah, or this layer here and hit Ctrl J or Command J to push. Okay, so you'll have a duplicate and work with that. Okay, so that's a little bit of extra tips for you guys for today, right? So first thing that you want to remember, that is one, in a non-destructive manner, always keep your origin. The rest of it is where you edit and do all this photo editing and manipulation in the future. And then once you have done, all you have to do is save as. Okay, always remember to save this, save as a PSD file, right? So come next week, you have a rough idea. You can always reflect back on what you have done today, this week, what you have tested, and then you can always open up and see, yeah, this is how it works. Okay, and come next week, it's going to be more fun. That's where we are going to do edits. We will start editing image. Okay, did you all have fun? Any questions? Miss Ajira?
No.
Right. I will stop the recording now. 1 second.
I think everyone can access all the files in the Google Classroom, right, Mr. Cannon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone can.
Okay.
How do I stop this? Stop.